By West Ham standards, the last 24 hours has been horrible. It has to be said. I'm absolutely sick of it. I'm so desperate for a win today for us all as West Ham fans, but to also take the pressure off Julen Lopetegui. Look, since I spoke to you last, basically yesterday morning, Tim Steidten has now apparently come under pressure. I think nobody specified quite who in the boardroom was under pressure, but apparently there's a dissatisfaction in the boardroom over some of the decisions that have been made, and the club are now looking for new investment. I don't really know what that means, and I'm not making it up. This was, two of those stories were actually broken by Football Insider. And Football Insider, I'll keep repeating it just in case you don't know. Football Insider broke a couple of really big stories during the summer, which turned out to be accurate. Like anyone else, they do a load of other stuff which isn't quite so accurate. So I couldn't attest to whether this is good stuff, whether this is well informed or well briefed stuff. They claim a source for this, but they don't specify whether it's a club source or it actually says, I'm going to read it now, it says West Ham Technical Director Tim Steidten is facing growing pressure after the performances of the club's new signings, sources have told Football Insider. It would normally be at that point you would say sources close to the player, sources close to Steidten, a source at West Ham. It's just sources have told Football Insider. So I don't know. I don't know how much truth there is in that. But make no mistake about it. I think Tim Steidten should be under pressure at West Ham. I really do. I don't like what I've heard in the last week or so. I defended Steidten. I really did when Richard Keys came out and called him a sneaky weasel. I thought that's completely out of order. He was basically accused of undermining David Moyes. And I defended him for that because I didn't think he did undermine David Moyes. Just thought he was a head of recruitment, director of football, whatever you want to call it, who was doing his job. David Moyes had let it be known that he didn't want to stay at West Ham and he was there trying to find his successor. As basically he was doing an HR job, and I would expect him to do exactly that. So I defended him, and rightly so. To be fair, it doesn't take much. I don't really like the cut of Keys jib too much either, so it didn't take much to defend him. But you can't do that and then undermine the next manager, and I have felt within the last... You start to run out of excuses, and I've already covered it in yesterday's video, so I've not been ultimately, impressed with what I've heard coming out from Steidten. Steidten did an interview, it's not come from Steidten, but here's the point. Quotes have been attributed to him. Thoughts and beliefs have been applied to him. Now, last weekend, he came out and he did a video before the Chelsea game, as I did an interview, not a video. He's got the opportunity to do that again. I wouldn't mind him doing it. I'd appreciate it. I think Lopetegui would probably appreciate it, really. There's a lot of rumours, and he's got the ability to put them to bed. So, I think he deserves that, Lopetegui. I think he deserves the chance to at least... Look, if the club are going to let him go if he doesn't win against Brentford, doesn't win against Ipswich, that's absolutely fine. As I've already articulated, we just don't need to know about it. Up until that point, I do believe the club should back him to give him every bloody chance. We can't... We've already lost... If we started the season and what we wanted to do was qualify for Europe, then actually some of the games we've already played, like Aston Villa, like Chelsea, are important because they're also teams that are going to be going for Europe. We're already behind in that. I'm not saying we can't qualify for Europe this season, but we've lost in the Carabao Cup. That's one avenue into Europe which has gone, and the other one's going to come in the league. We ain't getting to, even if we were to appoint a new manager, it'd probably mean we'd lost against Brentford and Ipswich. We're not getting into Europe, and I really want us to. I've not given up hope, but I certainly am starting to think that the circus is back in town at West Ham. Because another story from the same website, Football Insider, basically said that West Ham are looking for new investment, that certain members of the board are unhappy with other members of the board. I don't know what that means. When you've got something that vague, then it just allows you for your minds to make this stuff up, and it's so vague. I don't want to. We could spend loads of time speculating whether Brady was unhappy with Sullivan, whether Sullivan was unhappy with Kretinsky, whether Kretinsky was upset with Sullivan, whether Tripp Smith wanted out. I don't know. And to be fair, I'm sick of it. I'm absolutely sick of it. I really am. One thing we needed this season was stability. I say one thing. We need more than one thing. We need stability. Was high on the agenda. unity would have been nice as well. I think particularly after last season, with the way it all sort of ended with Moyes, it was... I think possibly Moyes even deserved better than what happened at the end. It was the death of 1,000 cuts, really, wasn't it? It was a long walk to the gallows. I think many people would have held the belief that Moyes was probably better off walking away after the Conference League win, but that was his choice to stay on. And certainly, no way I thought the club should have forced him out at that point. Far from it. He deserved the opportunity to make that decision, certainly. But after everything did happen with Moyes, after he had that sort of, as I say, that long walk to the gallows, the sort of public, was quite public spat, really, wasn't it, with Tim Steidten. Steidten gets banned from the dressing room, Steidten gets banned from the training ground. We needed some unity, and we needed it this season. So, and this is where we find ourselves now. Almost as bad as it's been, the butt of jokes. And we got this thing with the media at the moment where they can't wait to stick the boot in again. Chris Sutton, I mean, he was at it last week, but what did he say about downgrade? That's it, yes. Why would Brendan Rodgers want to go to West Ham? They're a downgrade. That's what he said. He was a big cheerleader for David Moyes. What did he say yesterday in his prediction? He said, well, West Ham fans wanted change, they got change. He's patronising, he's condescending, he's nasty, basically. Chris Sutton is articulate and intelligent enough, because he was meant to be doing a prediction at this point. He's articulate and intelligent enough to make a prediction on the Brentford v West Ham game without taking a dig at West Ham fans. He chose to. That's what he does. And it's going to continue. It's not going to stop. So you've got all of that stuff going on. He's the poster boy in the last couple of days. A lot of them are at it. I was going to say they're all at it. A lot of them are at it. They cannot wait for West Ham to fail so they can say, I told you so. So you've got that going on, which is really crap. And you've got this stuff now with Steidten's under pressure. But I think honestly, I think he's brought it on himself. He could have. He's intelligent enough to know. I talk about Chris Sutton being articulate enough. Tim Steidten is intelligent enough to know that Fabrizio Romano is viewed as his mouthpiece, right? So he would have known that story came out. He could have killed that straight away. He could have got Romano. He could have said to Romano, "Can you put out a counter tweet? Actually, can you go and correct that and say that?" Just say he's got my full support. He could have done a number of things. His silence is deafening with that. Then you've got all this stuff that's, I don't know how much I believe. What was it? It said, if you want to search for it, it was West Ham looking for new investors amid boardroom bust-up. Boardroom bust-up. Not my words, theirs. I think, oh man, look, in the middle of it, it's Julen Lopetegui. I was cross with Lopetegui a few days ago. Now I feel sorry for him. I do. I feel sorry for him. This happens so often that you just start to think, well, actually, this is just West Ham. And sometimes you think, well, what's wrong with West Ham? Why are we cursed? I said it the other day. It feels like we got a curse. Maybe it's just a bloody impossible place to work. Maybe the environment is so terrible that nobody can thrive here. And I think that's the thing that concerns me most. It doesn't matter whether it's Billage. It doesn't matter whether it's Pellegrini. It doesn't matter whether ultimately it's Moyes. Yes, Moyes won the trophy and whatnot, but by the time he left here, Moyes was failing. Up to whatever it was, end of November, fine last season. Then it was bad. Was bad. You look at our form in the last 12 months. It's relegation form. It is, right? And it's so bad that you think, well, no one can thrive here. And now we've got Lopetegui here, and I think, there's this perception that, with some, that if we got Lopetegui out, someone else comes in, and they do fine. That's a young, what did Cottee say yesterday? A young progressive coach. Okay. But there's nothing to say this young progressive coach can come in and work at West Ham under these circumstances when everyone's undermining everyone else. When they're all covering their own arses. All basically trying to remain separate from one another and all explaining what they've done. And then, I don't know, the way that, the carve up of who chose what players is not good either. I'm massively... Look, any day it's a match day, I want West Ham to win. I'm rooting for West Ham. But on top of that, I'm really rooting for the manager today. I really am. I really want him to succeed. I really do. It's a bullying would be too strong a word, because it's... But if any of it's true, if half of it's true, it's all a bit snide. You know what I mean? It's all a bit talking behind people's backs and snitching, and I don't like it at all. I really don't like it. And I understand that Lopetegui is not beyond that himself, because he's got a Guillaume Balaguer who'll be his mouthpiece. But thank goodness he's got one. I think you almost have to have one. And everyone's, I mean, Moyes has got loads of them. Loads of them. So I'm not going to, criticise Lopetegui for having at least one person to bat his corner in the media. And he's so outnumbered. This guy has realistically done nothing wrong. There are, I'm not saying he's been brilliant. He's been a bit crap, actually. But there are people in the Premier League lower down than him, right? Yeah, I would suggest whoever is below West Ham in the league, none of those managers are getting as hard time off the mainstream media and Lopetegui. It's a bad look. I'm looking at it, I'm thinking, they can't wait to stick the boot in. And as I say, I just don't like it. I look at the mainstream media are bullying him, and not even because anything he's done. It basically, his crime at the moment, they don't care how West Ham are doing. His crime is that he's not David Moyes. That's his crime, right? And I think it's a bad look. I don't like to see anyone getting picked on. I hate it, actually. I absolutely hate it. And then I look and I see the club. I feel like the club are throwing him under the bus as well. And then you see all this other nonsense. So I'm rooting for him today. I really am. This has taken on... It really does feel that it's taken on extra meaning. For the club... And by the way, I would agree. If he carries on losing, they're going to have to get rid of him. They are. But up until that point, I'd love to see him get some support. I'd love to see him get some love. I really would. I really would. It's just... I cannot... I don't think I've felt this way about West Ham for quite some time. I've felt this way about West Ham before, because the feeling is familiar. And I guess the easy line is the circus is back in town. But I'm not sure it's that. That the circus conjures up. A circus is theatre, isn't it? Circus is brightly coloured. The circus is out there. The circus is in your face. You can't miss the circus. When the circus comes to town, everyone knows about it. It's not that. It's something darker. It's something more whispered. It's something more sinister. It's an underlying nastiness. There's something going on. Something moody, something shady, it feels, going on at West Ham at the moment. I do not like it. And it feels very unhealthy and very bad for the club. And if it carries on, then I would not blame players, the players that are here now, for saying, I want to get out. I need to get out, I want to get out. But other players not to want to join. And particularly other coaches to have a look at West Ham and possibly think, you know what? They got the budget. They got the big stadium. Premier League team. But there's something not quite right there that will make managers and good managers actually pick clubs with a less budget, who are not as big, because, and here's the real damning verdict, because they stand more chance of success at a smaller club than they do at West Ham.